Nobody believed a billionaire's daughter, until a single dad changed everything. The grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and polished silverware. It was the kind of place where every conversation felt rehearsed, every smile calculated. Robert Ashford sat at the center table, surrounded by business partners and their perfectly dressed families. His daughter Emma sat quietly beside him in her pale blue dress, her small hands folded in her lap. She was only 8 years old, but she already knew the script. Be quiet, be polite, don't embarrass your father. The waiters moved gracefully through the crowd, serving expensive courses that most people barely touched. Emma stared at her plate, pushing around a piece of grilled salmon she didn't want to eat. "Emma, sit up straight," her father whispered without looking at her. She straightened her back immediately. Across the room, a man named Daniel Torres was working. He wasn't a guest, he was one of the servers. A single father in his early 30s, Daniel had been working double shifts for months to keep up with rent and his daughter's medical bills. Tonight was supposed to be just another job. Smile, serve, stay invisible. But then he noticed the little girl at the center table. She looked so small, so alone. Surrounded by all those people, yet somehow completely by herself. Daniel had seen that look before, on his own daughter's face when she felt like no one was listening. Emma's mother had passed away when she was just 4 years old. Since then, Robert had thrown himself into his business empire, building walls around his heart that even his own daughter couldn't break through. He told himself he was doing it for her, securing her future, making sure she'd never want for anything. But what Emma wanted most, he couldn't buy. She wanted her father to look at her the way other dads looked at their kids, with warmth, with pride, with love that didn't come with conditions. Tonight was supposed to be special. Robert had promised her they'd spend time together after the dinner. Maybe get ice cream, maybe talk about her day. But as usual, the promise faded the moment they walked through those ballroom doors. Robert became Robert Ashford, CEO, and Emma became invisible. As Daniel approached the table to refill water glasses, he heard one of the guests laugh loudly. "Come on, Robert, your daughter says she wants to be a veterinarian? That's adorable." The man chuckled, a red-faced executive with a booming voice. "She'll grow out of it." "Kids say the silliest things," another guest chimed in. "My son wanted to be a dinosaur at that age. Now he's studying finance at Princeton." The table erupted in laughter. Robert Ashford smiled tightly, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. "She's young. She doesn't understand how the world works yet." Emma's face turned red. Her throat tightened. She looked down at her lap, blinking fast, trying not to cry. She'd spent weeks reading books about animals. She'd written a whole report about how to help injured birds. She'd even asked her father if they could volunteer at a shelter together. He'd said he was too busy. And now, in front of all these people, he was dismissing her dream like it was nothing. Daniel paused near the table, pouring water slowly. He glanced at Emma, and for just a second, their eyes met. She looked like she wanted to disappear. Without thinking, Daniel knelt down beside her chair, something servers weren't supposed to do. "Excuse me, miss," he said gently. "I couldn't help but overhear." "You want to be a vet?" Emma looked up, surprised that someone was actually talking to her. She nodded shyly. "That's amazing," Daniel said with a warm smile. "You know what? My daughter wants to be a vet too. She's always bringing home stray cats and trying to fix their little paws. Drives me crazy, but I love it." Emma's eyes brightened just a little. "Really, really," Daniel said. "And you know what I'd tell her? The world needs people who care about animals, people who listen when no one else does. That's not silly, that's brave." The table had gone quiet. Everyone was staring. Robert Ashford's jaw tightened. "Thank you, but she's right to dream big," Daniel continued, standing up now but still looking at Emma. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, okay?" Emma nodded, a small smile breaking through. Robert's face flushed with embarrassment. "That's enough. Please just do your job." Daniel nodded politely and moved on, but something had shifted in the room. The rest of the evening dragged on. Robert made his speech about quarterly profits and strategic partnerships. People clapped. They raised their glasses. They congratulated him. But he couldn't stop thinking about the look on his daughter's face. And he couldn't stop thinking about that waiter who'd had the audacity to speak to her like she mattered. When the event finally ended, Robert gathered his things quickly. "Come on, Emma, time to go." Emma followed silently, clutching her small purse. As they walked toward the valet, one of Robert's associates caught up with them. "Robert, hell of a speech tonight. Listen, about that development deal in Austin." "Not now, Marcus," Robert said curtly. "It'll just take a second." "I said not now." Marcus blinked, surprised. Robert Ashford never turned down business talk. Robert helped Emma into the car and closed the door. As he walked around to the driver's side, someone tapped on his window. It was Daniel, still in his server uniform, holding a small folded piece of paper. Robert rolled down the window, annoyed. "What do you want?" Daniel handed him the paper. "Your daughter left this at the table. I thought you'd want it." Robert unfolded it. It was a drawing, a crayon sketch of a little girl standing next to a dog with the words "I want to help animals" written in shaky letters. At the bottom, in even smaller letters, it said, "I want Daddy to be proud of me." Robert stared at it for a long moment. His throat tightened. "She's a good kid," Daniel said quietly. "She just wants someone to believe in her." Robert looked up, but Daniel was already walking away, heading back toward the service entrance. Robert sat there in the dark, holding that drawing. The valet stood nearby, waiting for a tip, but Robert didn't even notice. For the first time in years, he saw his daughter, not as an accessory to his image, not as a responsibility to manage, but as a person. A little girl with dreams, fears, and a heart too big for the cold world he'd built around her. He looked over at Emma in the passenger seat. She was staring out the window, her reflection small and sad in the glass. "Emma," he said softly. She didn't respond. "Emma, sweetheart." She turned to him, her eyes red. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so sorry." She blinked, confused. Her father never apologized. "You want to be a veterinarian?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Then that's what you'll be, and I'm going to help you. I promise." Emma's lip trembled. "You mean it?" "I mean it." And for the first time in a long time, Robert Ashford hugged his daughter. Really hugged her. And Emma cried into his shoulder, not because she was sad, but because she finally felt seen. The next morning, Robert did something unexpected. He called the catering company and asked for Daniel's information. The manager hesitated. Employees' personal information was confidential. But Robert was persuasive and persistent. A week later, Daniel received a letter in the mail. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a handwritten note. "Mr. Torres, you spoke to my daughter when no one else would. You reminded me of something I'd forgotten, that the people we love need more than money. They need our time, our attention, our belief. I want to do something meaningful, not for my image, not for tax benefits, but because it's right. I'm starting a scholarship program for kids who dream of becoming veterinarians, kids who need someone to believe in them, and I'd like your help. The check is not charity, it's a thank you, and an investment in something bigger than both of us. If you're interested, call me." Robert Ashford. Daniel read the letter 3 times. His daughter Sophia peeked over his shoulder. "Dad, is that a lot of money?" "Yeah, mija, it is. What are you going to do with it?" Daniel thought about it. He thought about all the nights he'd worked himself to exhaustion, all the times he'd wondered if he was doing enough for Sophia, all the dreams he'd put on hold. And then he thought about Emma, that little girl who just wanted her father to believe in her. "I'm going to call him," Daniel said, "and we're going to help some kids." Sophia grinned. "Can I help too?" "Of course you can." 2 weeks later, Robert and Daniel met at a quiet coffee shop downtown. It was strange at first, a billionaire and a single father sitting across from each other, trying to figure out how to work together. But they both wanted the same thing, to make a difference. "I don't know the first thing about helping people," Robert admitted. "But you do, and my daughter believes in this, so I want to try." Daniel extended his hand. "Then let's do it, for the kids who need someone to believe in them." They shook on it. Over the next few months, they built something beautiful. The Ashford Torres Foundation started small, just a handful of scholarships for kids interested in veterinary medicine. But word spread. Teachers nominated students, parents applied, and slowly the foundation grew. Emma became the heart of it all. She volunteered at the foundation's events, reading to younger kids, helping organize donation drives. She even convinced her father to adopt a rescue dog named Biscuit. Robert, for his part, learned to slow down, to listen, to be present. And Daniel, he finally had the resources to give Sophia the medical care she needed. But more than that, he had a friend, someone who understood what it meant to fight for your kid.